So hello and really nice I was on the chat actually, so I could hear how chatty you all are, which is really great. Very nice to be here with you all. My name, as Miranda said, is Roisin Vaughan, and I work in Cambridge in an insight role, which means that I spend a lot of time thinking about the external environment. And so what I'd really like you to do now, I'd like to invite you all just to step outside your usual context. So you've just been talking in great depth about what happens within your classroom and with your learners. And what we're going to do now is just step outside that context and think a little bit about the external environment that we're operating in and what the drivers of change are that are going to impact on us and on our learners over the next few years. So this session is going to explore some of the big trends in markets, these really big drivers that we call the golden threads. And it's going to be based on our ongoing research, which we're going to share some of those insights with you. So we're going to look at some of the key trends and opportunities that we're seeing across our industry globally and that we're thinking about and working on so that we can continue to provide the best possible solutions to our educational customers and partners such as yourselves. Now, just before I show you what those big drivers are, I'd like to ask all of you a question. And so for this, you're going to need your mobile phones or at least access to your computers. And I'm going to use a question on Slido. You can see the question here on the screen. What do you believe are the key trends influencing English language teaching, learning, and assessment over the next 3 to 5 years? And to answer that question, if you have your mobile phones, please scan the QR code that you can see on the left of the screen, or just go to slido.com on your phones or on your desktops and enter the code 3451267. And you can put in as many ideas as you like, and we're going to build up a word cloud together. So what do you think are the key trends that are going to influence our industry over the next 3 to 5 years? Okay, so we've got AI integration as a tool for planning and delivery. The big number there is the code, which my colleague has very kindly popped in for you to see. AI, up front and central. Tech and AI, self-learning, that's an interesting one. Teenagers, yes, teenagers will be a key trend. Love to know more about that. Do pop more thoughts in the word cloud. Self-learning, health. Health is an interesting one, I guess, as we come out of a pandemic era, right? That's very much on our kind of front of mind. Self-assessment, self-learning. Growth mindset, I love that. Robotic, collaborative learning, I think was up there in teaching. Integrated skills, hybrid classes. Mental, I guess by mental we probably mean mental health issues, right? Critical thinking, some of those wider skills. Emotional learning. I'll just let it settle for a minute. Okay, it's keeping moving, which is great. Now, the larger words that you can see there means that more of you have put those words in, right? So we can see that the majority of you are talking about tech as being the really big disruptor, the really big driver of change, whether that's AI or other forms of technology. And we've also got quite a lot here around skills. We've got gamification. Again, that's also influenced by technology. A lot on skills, actually. We've got critical thinking up there too. Okay. Really great to see that. Thank you very much for engaging in this activity. Or individualism, the metaverse. Yeah, so that idea of moving towards more kind of immersive environments and virtual realities there too, as is robotics, I think we touched on earlier. Okay, I'm going to leave the Slido open, which means you can continue to add your thoughts to it, and we can always come back to this later. So just with all of your ideas in mind here, sort of framing that context, I love more love, yes. That's a really great one. Perhaps that should be right in the middle, up front and central. So with all of those thoughts in mind, these are the key drives of change that we're going to focus on in this session. That doesn't mean that they're the only ones, but they're the ones that we thought were really interesting to talk about together today. So we're going to look at tech innovations and AI, which, as you saw on your word cloud, was the most significant trend that you were pulling out. Skills for lifelong learning and employability, and again, that came up quite clearly on our Slido, didn't it? Climate crisis and sustainability, interestingly, didn't come up, which is a thought for us. Well-being, so we did have stuff, didn't we, around health, and somebody put mental, by which I think you maybe meant mental health, so that area. And then I just thought it was interesting just to tap into and think about a little bit the influence of geopolitics as well, especially in sort of the age that we're living in today. Okay, so let's take the first one, tech innovations, which will then sort of lead nicely into AI as well. So first of all, just to sort of set the context of digital, I've got a little bit of data on the screen for you here. So on the left-hand side, this is some data from Outcell, who's a market intelligence agency we work with quite closely. This data is from 2022, and it looks at the divide between print, digital, and hybrid resources from ELT providers globally. So that's for learning and assessment. And the point here, the message here, is that we can see the dominance of digital and hybrid over print. Now, that doesn't mean that print is disappearing. Print is still incredibly important, and the amount of print will vary across markets and also by demography. It will vary by sector. If you've got a lot of young learners, you may well be using more print resources, for example. But the direction of travel that we can see here is towards greater digitization. On the right-hand side, I thought it was quite interesting to share with you some thoughts from another intelligence agency, Holland IQ. And Holland IQ are looking at forecasts for increasing expenditure in technology over the next few years, not just in ELT, this is across global education. And it's really interesting that some of the things that you put on the slide were there. So when we talked about immersive learning and virtual reality, for example, you can see the second big green bar there. That's the increases predicted in augmented and virtual reality technologies. The one on the left is AI, artificial intelligence. Then we've got blockchain. So blockchain is that technology which is often used by platforms delivering micro-credentials or digital badges, for example. And then on the right, we've got robotics as well. So see, these are some of the areas that are predicted to have more of a focus in education over the next few years. It's also worth thinking about the fact that digital is not just impacting on the assessment and learning side of our industry, but actually right across the whole value chain. So if we think about international student recruitment, for example, students who want to go and study abroad may well be using digital aggregators or digital platforms such as Applyboard to find their partner institution. And we also see that digital is becoming increasingly significant to all of our competitors as well. And as an example, 47% of Cengage's sales in 2023 were reportedly digital. So that's just to set the context a little, that the direction of travel is very much towards digital. Now, advances in technology are driving innovations in assessment methodologies, such as computer adaptive testing, online assessments, automated scoring systems, as well as providing more test security. That there's much more focus on cybersecurity now, for example, data privacy, lots of those kind of areas. And these tech innovations are enabling more efficient and effective evaluation of language proficiency. So these increases in technology are also leading to a shift in market expectations as schools, governments, regulators and exam boards are all signaling support for technological change. And this is a trend that we are responding to as well with our move towards digital high-stakes assessments. Now, our research consistently shows us that computer-based testing is the direction of travel. And international exam boards, including our own OCR, are now introducing on-screen international GCSEs. So these are the high-stakes exams taken at the end of high school before entry to college. And this is in line with this broader trend we're seeing towards digital high-stakes assessments across education, not just in ELT. And studies are revealing positive student sentiment towards on-screen assessments. I thought it was quite interesting just to share with you here some of the feedback that we've received from some of our learners and also teachers around our digital high-stakes assessments, our CEQ digitals. And you can see that the sentiment is really very positive. Competitor research also suggests that demand for on-screen assessments is high, with no systematic differences between how students perform on-screen and how they perform on paper versions. Now, thinking about the learning side of things as well, advances in technology are likely to make education much more data-driven, with learning solutions which leverage artificial intelligence and enable the development of personalized learning and credentials, with more of a focus on that overall learner journey. Now, we are responding at Cambridge to this opportunity through the development of integrated learning and assessment solutions. And you've just had a wonderful session from Miranda talking exactly around that topic, integrated learning and assessment. And of course, we have the power of two brands that have come together, Cambridge University Press, Cambridge Assessment, joining together with that depth of expertise and knowledge around really being able to integrate learning and assessment into our solutions for our customers. Now, competitors too are also starting to launch their integrated learning and assessment solutions. And we can see that when we see the coming together of some learning and assessment providers. So, for example, Macmillan and the British Council that I've put on the screen here have come together to promote end-to-end learning, teaching and assessment programs. When we look at this, what we're really seeing is more of a retrospective mapping of British Council tests at appropriate levels of the CFR mapped onto pre-existing programs of study. So we can see there's real customer demand for these kind of solutions, which is why we're seeing people racing to try and offer them. But we do have to remember that this kind of partnership we're talking about is not really the same as the Cambridge partnership in terms of bringing together true learning and assessment right from the very beginning of the development of all of our solutions. Moving then on to AI, which of course is all part of tech and tech innovations. As technology begins to deliver on the promise of analysing learner data, we can expect that the market for personalised and adaptive learning is going to grow quite significantly over the next few years. We may see players entering the market with AI tools that provide additional competition to existing players. We may also see other areas of disruption, such as wearable tech, for example. So we've already got the kind of AI pins that people can wear that translate simultaneously. So that's another area too. So we're already seeing the big tech giants in this space. And we're seeing lots of emerging use cases in education with increases in gamification, for example, immersive learning, AI tutors. So what does our own research tell us? Well, our research with Cambridge University and led by the Digital Education Futures Initiative identified the plausibility of immersive, interactive and augmented assessments when we look forward to 2050. Not to predict the future of assessment, but to use futures thinking to anticipate plausible assessment futures. So this really goes back to what you were just talking about with Miranda with ILA, that sort of bringing together of formative, summative assessments, really supporting learners all the way through that learning journey in a more kind of stealthy way. Now, growth in AI tutors, I think, is one that's really interesting and is a really good example of how technology can solve problems. And the big problem we have is, I'm sure you're aware, is the problem of global teacher shortages. Now, according to Holland IQ, 44 million more teachers are needed to meet universal basic education by 2030. And we know that the current conditions are very unlikely to be able to plug that gap. The shortage of teachers is really felt in many markets across the world. So in Germany, for example, they're facing a deficit of 300,000 early learning educators. And in the US as well, at least 300,000, similar number, of public school teachers left the profession between February 2020 and May 2022, with fewer people choosing to teach. So the global teacher shortages is really reaching quite a critical stage. And there's a pressing need for strategies that sort of integrate technology, policy, funding, and other models to address the crises. And so it's not surprising that we're seeing a lot of focus on AI tutors when we look at some of those innovations that we're seeing in market. A very recent example, I've put the logo on the screen there, is Tutello, which is a platform that's operating across higher education. And it's a platform which leverages both human expertise and AI to enhance real-time tutoring experiences. And this platform is working with institutions such as Imperial College London, right through to the University of Science and Technology in Hong Kong. And with the potential to expand, of course, across other areas of education too. So this poses a risk not just to the traditional tutoring businesses, but also potentially to textbook providers too, as these platforms work with higher education institutions to put their own content into the platforms. An increasing digitization of content and delivery is enabling more formative assessment opportunities as well for many other edtech players. So I've put some examples on the screen there. So we're seeing innovations from people like Khan Academy with Khan Mingo, or Chegg with Checkmate, or Duolingo Max with Duolingo, for example. So we're seeing quite a lot of those emerging. Okay. And actually, I just wanted to mention, because I think it's quite interesting as well, that we're also looking at the partnerships between some of the big tech giants and national governments as well. So an example of that might be the Microsoft, who are currently working with the Sri Lankan Ministry of Education. They've signed a memorandum of understanding to integrate AI and machine learning across the national school curriculum. So we see quite a lot of those examples of the big tech giants working with governments as well. So that's an area that we're watching very closely. Okay. So I'm going to pause for a moment on tech. Do feel free to put your questions in the chat, because at the end of this, we will have a lovely 15-minute Q&A as you had with Miranda too. I just want to move on to the next, another big driver, which I know was of interest looking at the word cloud at the beginning too, which is the growing importance of skills for lifelong learning and employability. So a few sort of drivers we can pull out here. Demographic shifts and skill shortages are leading to an increasing focus on professional competencies and technical vocational education and training in the progress of developing economies with funding from governments. But this is also very relevant across more mature markets. So if we think about Western Europe, we've got some markets with declining birth rates. So for example, Italy, Switzerland, Greece. So there we're seeing governments as well really looking at this area for investment. And actually in Europe, the COVID Recovery Fund, when we look at countries that have bidded for educational projects, they're often around increasing digitization and also vocational education. Skills shortages are also prompting some countries to open opportunities for skilled migration. So we can think about Denmark as an example there. Now, the tech giants I referenced before are also investing in AI research and upskilling through strategic partnerships and alliances. So Amazon and Microsoft, as an example, are both currently investing in Japan's AI development. So Microsoft, for example, is opening up an AI hub in Japan and is aiming to extend its research leadership across the Asia-Pacific region, while Amazon is currently investing in multidisciplinary research between US and Japanese universities. And then IBM is currently setting out to support the integration of Spain's national AI strategy. So again, we can see tech giants really trying to kind of own this AI space. I also want to touch on competency-based assessment. So if we think about our industry, so English language learning and assessment, there's growing recognition of the importance of assessing not just linguistic knowledge, but also communicative competence and real-world language skills. And so we see many of our competitors starting to target the workforce sector with competency-based learning and apprenticeship models gaining momentum, offering direct pathways into the workforce. Now, here at Cambridge, we have developed the Cambridge Framework of Life Competencies, and there's a small image of that on the screen there, to show what different skills there are and how they can develop across the learning journey. And this includes thinking and learning skills and social skills. So things such as creativity, critical thinking, digital literacy, emotional development, and so on. And we use these to inform curriculum development. For example, Shining Lights, a new blended course for secondary school students, which launches in 2025, offers thorough preparation for our Cambridge English qualifications and is underpinned by the Cambridge Life Competencies Framework, as well as other frameworks such as our Oracy framework and our sustainability framework. So you can see how Cambridge really monitors these trends very closely and looks at responding to them to ensure that we are constantly staying relevant and providing the right solutions to meet these shifting demands. And then finally, I want to touch on talent shortages, which are driving interest in micro-credentials. And by micro-credentials, we mean the credentialing of small chunks of learning. So sometimes that might be through a digital badge. I've put a couple of competitor ones up there on the screen so you can see what I mean. And in response to student demand, post-secondary education in particular is adopting more of these micro-credentials in the form of online programs, short courses, alternative vocational models. And the global micro and alternative credential market is one of the fastest growing segments in education globally. And micro credentials are very high on government agendas, with funding focused on areas of high labour market need. And we're also starting to see governments across many markets embedding micro credentials into their national qualifications frameworks. So this is an area that we think is really forecast to grow. And here at Cambridge, we're researching how we might continue to evolve and to support our customers and our partners and our suppliers. And of course, we're looking at what a Cambridge micro-credential, for example, might mean in the future. Okay, another driver, which interestingly didn't come up on our word cloud before, is sustainability, of course, driven by climate change. And sustainability, what we're seeing is that this is becoming a real necessity rather than an option due to climate change, and it's really influencing customer preferences. Educational institutions gain a competitive advantage when they prioritize environmental sustainability, with 4 in 10 international students researching the sustainability efforts of institutions, according to the latest research from QS World University Rankings. So that's a really interesting figure. If 40% of prospective international students are looking at how sustainable institutions may be, we can see that it's becoming an increasingly important influencer. The growth of green jobs too is really important in underpinning the importance of sustainability. And according to the World Economic Forum, 23% of global jobs are projected to change in the next 5 years. And the kinds of roles that they think will be in high demand include things like renewable energy engineers, solar energy installation and systems engineers, sustainability specialists, environmental protection professionals, for example. So as always, we often say that we're teaching our learners, we're preparing our learners for jobs that don't yet exist. And it's very likely that many of those jobs will be jobs that have much more of a green focus and much more environmentally relevant. And therefore, it's really important that we think about how we might integrate some of these factors into our curriculum. So greening the curriculum is something that we often hear about in international education. And concern about carbon emissions as well is really important. And we find that associated with student mobility, so very relevant to higher education when we think about international students and students traveling across borders and so on. And universities are looking at ways to really be careful of their own carbon footprint. And we're seeing more sustainable and virtual ways of delivering international study experiences. So for example, we've got e-mobility, we've got virtual internships in some cases, and we've got online forms of internationalization. So there's something called COIL, which is collaborative international online learning. So education has to be key to creating a sustainable future and acting for the well-being of people and planet, both of which are core to our mission. And across Cambridge, we're working really hard to equip learners, researchers, teachers, and education leaders with the knowledge, the skills, and the approaches that they need to make a positive impact in a changing world. But we're also clear that our operational approaches have to be consistent with the messages in our publishing and in our education. And so we're also doing things like we're reducing the carbon footprint of our buildings, of our processes, of our products. And that includes the amount of energy that we consume, for example, the more use of digital, reduction of paper, and so on. And for English language learning, we've developed the sustainability framework for ELT, which you can see on the left-hand side of the screen here. And this is to provide our product teams, our consultants, and our educators with a principled approach to bringing sustainability skills into the language learning. So this means modeling more sustainable practices, not causing eco-anxiety, promoting diverse voices, and bringing together environmental, social, and economic aspects of sustainability, going beyond just passive engagement with sustainability topics. So we've developed a lot of resources, including activity cards, which are free to download, and they're available for educators to use in the classroom. There are a couple on the screen there just for you to see. And you can explore a lot more around this both on our website and in our sustainability white paper, which we can share with you. And then moving on, but sort of linked to sustainability, is learner motivation and well-being. And I say that because I mentioned not causing eco-anxiety. So when we think about some of the mental health concerns of the younger generations, concerns around climate often come up. Now, of course, as I mentioned earlier, we're all in this post-COVID phase. We've all lived through this with all of the issues that we had around that. And one of the impacts of the pandemic is the learning gap that I know a lot of us are concerned about. And the post-COVID learning gap is estimated to have taken us back around 2 decades, with students less engaged than ever before, with reported increases in school absenteeism in markets like the UK, record low student achievement, and ongoing reports of mental health issues and anxiety affecting our learners. So we can expect to see an increasing focus on the learner experience and learner engagement over the next few years, with technology solutions at the centre. And one of the trends that we're seeing in response to this is a growing interest in social emotional learning, which has gained recognition as a really important component of education, which impacts students' overall well-being and their academic performance. And UNESCO notes that most countries now include the development of social and emotional skills in their educational goals. Now, protecting mental health, well-being, and data privacy for children is driving policy discussions around K-12 in many countries, including the US. Poland's another example. And Poland has actually just enacted a policy banning compulsory homework in primary settings, in primary education, to improve learner well-being, and also to remove the focus from rote learning and homework towards a more of a focus on some of those skills that we've just talked about, so on critical thinking and creativity, for example. And so we're starting to see well-being, examples of well-being in the ELT curriculum. And of course, we're also looking at this area and exploring it. And well-being is a key tenet of our new pre-primary course, Ready, Set, Grow. Teaching well-being helps learners manage day-to-day challenges and to become more resilient. And this course builds a foundation in English in very young learners, focusing on key themes informed by research conducted with teachers, which include well-being. Another increase we're seeing is a growth in gamification, which is driven very much by demand from consumer markets and also younger learners across both learning and assessment. And again, this is all part of that focus on the overall learner journey, that focus on more integrated learning and assessment. So learners carrying out more kind of stealthy assessments as they're playing a game. If we think about our learners on computers, for example, when they're gaming in that environment, it's very motivational, that they're usually winning some kind of award, whether it's a gold coin or they unlock a next level. They're actually constantly being assessed as they play through that gaming experience. So we're seeing more of that finding its way into learning and assessment. And you've got edtech products like Kahoot, for example, leading the way in digital gamified products, but there are lots of other edtech players as well entering that space. But we also need to think about a focus on teacher wellbeing, not just learner wellbeing. So we've talked about the crises in teacher shortages and teacher education. So lots of schools are looking for ways to retain and engage their teacher workforce with teacher wellbeing and increasing focus. And again, we're responding to this too. We have a very good webinar program focusing on both teacher and learner wellbeing. So if you have a look at our past webinars, you'll see lots of really interesting webinars that you can access around wellbeing for teachers in the classroom and outside the classroom. Now, screen time is another trend that's impacting learner wellbeing. And I think if there are any parents in the room, not just educators, you'll all be aware of this constant argument with our young children, with our younger learners, around the amount of time they spend on screens. And there are a lot of concerns around mental health, exacerbated by the excessive use of social media, and also issues with eyesight, for example, that have caused some markets like France to actually really look carefully at the amount of screen time they're allowing in classrooms. Now, across Europe, we're seeing concerns over learner wellbeing and screen time and data privacy, resulting in bans on learner devices in many schools across many markets. So these countries are really trying to strike a balance between using technology in the right way to get the right positive impact on learning while addressing concerns related to health, privacy, and also equitable access to resources as well is part of this too. So we've got lots of examples of this happening across the globe, this kind of no tech or low tech movement across schools, and this call for more research to evidence when technology can be used really effectively. And one of the big debates we're seeing at the moment is around reading, whether it is more effective for the younger learners, for example, to learn through reading a printed text or digital, and the different ways in which we read in those different scenarios too. Okay, and then the final trend that I just wanted to spend a few minutes on is geopolitics, which is an area that often I think we don't necessarily give enough focus to, and I think it's quite interesting. We all know, and we're all a global audience here, we're all aware that we are living in a time of great geopolitical instability with conflict on the rise globally. So we have lots of tensions, we know, between Russia, China, the US and the West. But we've also got this race to lead in AI as well. So I wonder who the new AI superpowers will be. So when we think about those countries that want to really lead on AI data regulation, for example, we see markets like China, like the US, but also the UK and also the EU, all vying to lead in this space. So we may well see some changes in world order. We also look at some of the shifts in language education in response to evolving international relations. So, for example, if we look at Africa, if we look at markets like Algeria and Morocco, we can see a gradual transition from a focus on French to English in education due to recent tensions with France. In some markets in Central Asia, so for example, Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, there's an increased focus on US funding for English learning, assessment, and teacher development. And this really coincides with increased US engagement in the region to counter China's expanding influence. We can also see the impact of ideologies. Again, China's a great example with its recent patriotic law. But also if we look in Europe and the UK, markets like Netherlands, Finland, there's a growing influence of far-right politics on immigration policy, which is resulting in restrictions of inbound students in higher education, for example. And then if we look at emerging markets, we have markets like Asia and Latin America all positioned for growth, with economies growing really fast, reportedly twice as fast as advanced ones on average by 2050. And demographically too, we can see a significant global shift as we look at the decline of working age populations in Western nations and East Asian countries, for example. And then we have regions with higher birth rates like Africa and South Asia, where we're seeing strong economic growth. So again, we need to think about where some of these changes may arise and what that might mean for international student mobility and international education as well. Now, before I wrap up the session and we move to Q&A, just a quick recap, and also it would be great again to have you engaging a little bit. So if you can have your mobile phones again, or your computers, we're going to do one more Slido. And I just want us to look at the trends that we've just looked at, just so we can remember them, because there were quite a lot there, I know. So we looked at tech innovations, we looked at AI and personalized learning, we looked at skills for lifelong learning. We touched on the climate crisis, in particular sustainability. We explored learner well-being and motivation, and then we touched briefly on geopolitics. And the question I'd love to ask all of you is, which of these trends do you believe will have the greatest impact on your educational context over the next 3 to 5 years? So as before, if you scan the QR code or go to slido.com and enter code 3451267 and just rank them in order of importance, with the first one being the most important. Which of these do you think is going to have the greatest influence on your context? And we'll just wait for a moment and let the screen settle. And interesting to reflect on how this maybe maps with the ideas that you may have had at the beginning of the session. I wonder if your ideas have changed, shifted. Not surprisingly, we've got, oh, look, AI has just jumped to the top above tech, but actually, they're more or less head to head, aren't they? So AI and personalized learning and tech jumping around, but both going to consider to be really significant globally. Then skills for lifelong learning, again, that came up quite strongly, didn't it, on our original word cloud. Learner well-being, I think that may have increased in importance. And climate crisis, so the one that we didn't see so really appearing before, is now coming to play. And then geopolitics. It doesn't surprise me that geopolitics might be a little bit lower, just because all of you, of course, you're not, well, not all of you necessarily are working in international contexts. I can see that Christina has raised her hand. I'm going to stop sharing now so that I can come into the chat, see you all, and see what kind of questions we have got. Okay, so we've got probably about 5 minutes or so for questions. So let's have a look. We've got a couple of questions in the chat already around micro-credentials. That's interesting, actually, because that's a similar question came up this morning. So obviously micro-credentials are on teachers' mind a little bit. The question about whether they're relevant for school-age learners or just higher education. What about primary learners? So thank you for that question, whoever that was. I think, as I was suggesting, micro-credentials are where we're seeing disruption is very much in the post-secondary space. So it's in that between school and university. And that's because the real driver for micro-credentials is around employability. So it's around helping learners to evidence skills that they have beyond perhaps just a formal curriculum so that they can get a job, basically. So that's where we're seeing most disruption. However, they are definitely suitable also for primary learners. If we think about gamification, and the example I gave before about children gaming and the fact that it's very normal and intuitive for them when they're in a sort of gaming environment to be getting rewards, right? To get little progress points in essence, to get whether it's gold coins or whatever it happens to be that they're winning as they game. So actually using digital badges, for example, as a way to motivate and engage learners in the primary classroom is a really great idea. And we did once actually have a project linked to our Pen Friends project where we got schools connected together across different regions where we use digital badges as well as part of that kind of reward and gamification for younger learners. So definitely something that teachers can play with in the classroom. And you can actually sign up to badging platforms and you can get your own badges and start to use them in the classroom. And the question underneath, similar, how can they support our learners? Why would they need them if they're taking our exams? Another very good question. So kind of linked to my answer before that, that one of the benefits of micro-credentials is they allow our learners to evidence other forms of learning beyond just the formal curriculum. And I think if we think about, especially if we think about some of our summative assessments, which we're all really familiar with, from a learner journey perspective, it's the summative assessment, we can almost see that as the destination. So our learners are learning, they're on their learning journey and they prepare and they do maybe progress tests and then they get to the summative assessment part. And that's where they get their big kind of endorsement of their level, their qualification, they can prove their skills to the world. But actually, what about evidencing that journey on the way as well? And that's where micro-credentials can really come into, can be really useful as well. As part of integrated within kind of formal programs of study, they can evidence bits of learning on the way to that eventual destination. They can also be used to evidence other kinds of learning. So universities, for example, might offer students other short courses that they can do to top up their formal program. So if you're doing a course in engineering, you might have a micro-credential in IT or in a language proficiency or something like that, so that you have more to show a potential employer. And it says, from your perspective as an expert, what micro-credential makers are the most valued by employers? And I guess when you say micro-credential makers, you probably mean the providers of micro-credentials. That is a really interesting question. And the reason that I think that's so interesting is that at the moment, there is no one agreed definition in market as to what a micro-credential is. So there are multiple providers offering micro-credentials. And one of the problems with that is there is no one single set of standards either to kind of verify what a micro-credential is. And that makes it very difficult for employers or institutions to know what it is that they're recognizing. And so what we have seen in terms of competitors is that competitors who are offering any form of micro-credential are working in partnership with some quite established credential providers. So people like Accredible or Credly, some of these kind of big digital credentialing platforms, they're partnering with them in order to be able to offer micro-credentials. So that's really kind of what we're seeing at the moment. But yeah, there's a lot to be done in terms of educating employers, institutions, and just really looking at all of the standards that need to be kind of brought together for the verification and validation of micro-credentials, which is actually why Cambridge is not rushing into that space. Because we are an assessment expert, we are looking really carefully at all of the elements that we need to consider before we bring these to market. But thank you for saying I'm an expert. I'm not an expert in micro-credentials, but love to think I was, but thank you for that question. Okay, Louise, what role do digital literacy and technological skills play in enhancing employability in the modern workforce? That's a really interesting question. I mean, my instinct would tell me that they're they're really important skills. We do know that one of the other reasons why that alternative micro-credential and alternative credential market is growing so fast is because of demand from employers. So we do know there are lots of examples in lots of markets where employers are saying that the graduates they're recruiting into jobs do not have the right skills to succeed. And actually, I have a really interesting, more personal example close to home from students applying for jobs in chemical engineering from a very, very good UK university, and the chemical engineering company is very frustrated because they're saying when they interview these candidates, although they've got this great degree, they just don't have the right skills. So I think it's actually really important, this idea of employability skills, which is why Cambridge has developed the employability framework and why we're looking at integrating some of those modules across our curriculum as well, in order to make sure that learners do have the right skills to succeed in the modern workplace, which is an increasingly information-rich environment, right? So the importance of technological skills and digital literacy, I think, is really important. I hope I've answered your question there, Louise. And if anyone else has any other answers to these questions, do please put them in the chat, because these are just some thoughts of mine, and I'm sure we've got so many experts around the globe here. I'd love to hear what you have to say as well. Okay, so I'm just sort of glancing through the chat to see what we've got in here. Lots of resources. Thank you, team in the background. I think I'm looking backwards actually from the beginning to the end, but that's fine. Oh yes, that's a question from Miranda that that she's answered. Lots of thank yous. Thank you to everybody. There's probably time for one more question if anybody has one, or if anyone would just like to put anything else in the chat. Okay, and if not, I might just finish with a little sort of closing statement, which I did have on a slide, but that's fine. We need to have the Q&A first, but just to say in terms of Cambridge's approach, so we are obviously all of our propositions, all of our solutions for our customers and our partners are informed by all of the scanning, the environmental scanning that we do. So all of the insights we capture, not just from the external landscape, but from all of our customers too. And our vision for learning English is of a highly personalized and adaptive learning journey that gives every learner what they need at every stage and provides the teacher with the best means to support them. And we're the gold standard in language assessment, as we know, especially in mature markets. So we will continue to evolve in line with shifting market trends and customer needs. And so we're transforming our technology and our capabilities around our current computer-based assessments, Cambridge English qualifications, which will provide us with a springboard for increased profitability and bring new benefits to all of our customers. And so you're likely to see us starting to innovate a lot more with some of these technologies. So launching digital product features, for example, that make use of AI to capitalize on the opportunity to provide individual learners with more personalized practice. And we really look forward to many more years working on our Cambridge journey together with you. And with that, I'm going to finish. And thank you very much indeed for your time and your attention. And I hope that you have a fantastic rest of the day.